Hey everybody, it's Mia with TMBH. Today is April 3rd, and we're going to talk about the rise of opioid-related ER visits. And obviously, when we're in the middle of an opioid crisis, so it's not necessarily a crazy thought that our ERs would experience more people coming in for opioid-related issues. So mainly, I guess, like the most typical issue is going to be overdose. So we're seeing a lot of people coming into ERs who have overdosed. And I mean, obviously now we have new medications like Narcan, which, like, for example, in Chicago, we have Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who's made sure that I believe all police forces have Narcan on them. So when somebody has an opioid overdose, they can be resuscitated using the Narcan and then taken to an emergency room. Because I mean, I don't believe everybody that takes Narcan is sent to the emergency room. I believe, like, if you wake up, I guess technically you could refuse to go to the ER. But a lot of people either don't refuse or they are just taken there because they still are in need of further medical assistance and they might not necessarily be fully with it yet. The interesting thing about the rise, though, of ER visits, so, like, the Midwest has been hit the hardest with the opioid crisis, but oddly enough, a lot of Midwestern states are seeing a decrease in ER visits, while you have kind of other states, like more, I believe it's more Western states now, not Midwestern, but just straight up Western states, that are seeing more of a rise in opioid-related deaths. But the state of Illinois is different, even though it's a Midwestern state. It has experienced, I don't believe, a decrease. I think that they've seen like a pretty radical increase, about 70% of an increase, which is like a huge increase. But then I think I would say Wisconsin is a 109% increase of ER visits. So yeah, it's a lot. But it's one of those things where, I mean, it's good that we're getting these people into emergency rooms and that it's not just kind of happening on the street and then it's an OD and you're dead. You know, we're glad that we're getting people into the emergency room, but we have to kind of I think, like, the next step is making the emergency room visits more productive, because as great as it is to save a life from an overdose, if they're going to go back home to do the same thing again, it's not really productive. We don't want to have people, like, save them from an OD and then just have them, like, move on to get their next high to eventually fall into their next OD. Like, that's not what we're looking to do. So ideally, you do want to get people into an emergency room and then maybe have some form of treatment for them, finding some way to get them help that isn't just like, oh, like, now we're going to patch you up and send you back out, but, like, getting them the legitimate help that they need. In a lot of cases, it's mental health care. I think in certain states, I'm not sure if it's in all states, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in certain states only, if you end up going into an emergency room from an OD, you can get Baker acted, like that's what we call it here in Florida, and it's essentially like I forget what they call it, section what, but basically what they do is they put you into like a mental health like kind of service, and you're forced, it's kind of like a mandatory thing. That's good-ish. It just depends, like the quality, I think sometimes, of the mental health care that's being provided isn't always that great, and that's like another issue. So yeah, it's the opioid crisis, and now how that's kind of shifted and brought into, like, now obviously our ERs and stuff, and now trying to figure out how our ERs can be better equipped to help these people, just because there's such a large increase and the numbers are getting bigger and bigger. Like I said, 70%, 109%. Like, these increases are ridiculous. So obviously we need to be more on the ball when it comes to being on top of making sure that ERs are prepared to deal with people who are in recovery, or not in recovery, but battling with addiction, and making sure we can help get them into recovery, which is our ultimate goal, as opposed to just being like, okay, like, you're good with this overdose, now just go back out and, like, do more heroin, because unfortunately we're seeing that a lot. So yeah, that was it for this. You can always check out our daily morning video, which is related to the topics that we talk about in these live videos. And then other than that, I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.